big deal. That's always went with the territory. I'll see you in Disneyland.
My defense, because I am such a part of it. I mean, I obviously I'm going to bear the consequences, so why not bear the responsibility?
Okay, sir, is she still alive?
You're alive.
When was the last time you saw her?
Mama, I killed Dean.
Brian?
Ma'am?
What are you doing?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back for another week.
Yes.
I know if you are watching this on YouTube, you notice that we have another friend this week with us.
This is the one.
This is Stormy.
That's Stormy. This is the one I showed you the head of last week.
Now Stormy
I just had
has
the
a body.
Head, and Gina was wondering how I was going to do the color. I don't think they can see it on the chair, which is so sad.
Yeah, Stormy. Stormy has like all different kinds of colors.
Yeah, so I did try.
She hit the nail on the head with this one. I think, yeah. The more she makes, the better.
I'm getting a little bit better with it. I made sure to do like the prominent spots, but it's really hard with like, because Stormy has like a lot of gray, black, and white blended in together. I don't even know, like not even spotted. It's almost like, I don't know, it's very beautiful.
It's
coloring.
like a brindle, but with white. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain it. There's probably a technical term for it that I don't know about. But anyway, this is
Stormy
Karen's.
has brown. Yeah, Stormy has brown feet.
So
I didn't quite know the color of his tail, so I just went all black.
Yeah. So Stormy will be on the way home or whatever in the mail.
Please take a picture of Stormy with mini Stormy. So.
Yes, because we've gotten some super cute pictures. Amber sent pictures of Zepp.
We need to put them up.
And then Jenna took pictures with Claire. And oh my God. So now I can't wait to see Stormy's pictures.
So I am working on them one at a time.
Yeah, so Shannon's really killing it when it comes to these things. So, she's doing really good.
When I get laser focused,
Yeah, I just came in. She's doing Legos at the table waiting for me. I was like, wow.
I was being busy.
I just feel like
I'm a housewife again. My husband's back from Vietnam.
I know. I just told her, I said, how does it feel to have a husband again?
He was gone for 6 weeks. That's the longest we've ever been apart from each other. That's crazy.
Yeah, so she's married again. So
yeah. So
great.
He put a ring on it. Again.
Great for me.
I know. So
anyway,
I know this week we have a story for you that because it's in the headlines again, because it was featured at South by Southwest for the movie premiere. Like some kind of documentary.
I believe it's a documentary that they're doing on it. Yeah.
So they premiered it at South by Southwest, and
hopefully it should be up by summer.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. It's getting a lot of attention. But to be honest with you, I never heard about it until I saw this article on it coming out, and I was like, oh, what is this? And like we've talked about before, it's crazy how many murders we have, and this is huge. This is 4 young girls.
Honestly, I probably have listened to the episode only because I think I've listened to every single episode of True Crime Garage.
Yeah, that's
because they're like my ultimate favorite podcast, I think, true crime podcast. And so I'm assuming at some point I've probably listened to it, but there's so many, like we said, that they just get lost. Like, especially when you get to be our age, like the drawers are full and like things just start falling out. And then it's just like, you just forget about it.
Yeah. And if you don't catch it or write it down. In fact, today, while researching a little bit more for this one, just to kind of clean it up, I ran into another story that they were kind of talking about on a Reddit. I go down the Reddit rabbit hole on some of these, and they brought up another case as well that people were saying that they were really interested in. And I Googled that and I had to note it. But the thing I realized is that she shares a birthday with me.
Oh.
Her birthday's on August 5th. Not the same year, but the same birthday.
Okay.
So I want to do that.
Jump on that one then.
Yeah. I'm going to follow up on that one real soon too. So
yeah. So it's just called the Yogurt Shop Murders. If you want like a super, super in-depth like True Crime Garage goes deep dive and beyond.
Yeah, well, they try to go and try to solve these things.
Yeah.
Right? They're like investigative reporters.
Yes, they're really, really good. They have, I want to say either 3 or 4 parts that they've done
You come
to the yogurt shop.
You come to us for like the gist of things so that you
Yes.
can follow it up with some deep dives into some other investigative work.
Yeah.
You know, there's very few episodes we've done where we've actually done the deep dive.
I think the ones that we did like about the Texas killing fields, and then we went into like each person, specific victim, stuff like that. Back then, like those were really
Chris Watts, we kind of
yeah
really went down and did a deep
Yeah.
dive on. But yeah, this one, I tried to get as much information as possible. I went to a few different sources. I listened to a couple podcasts. So it's a blend of things. I don't know how much deeper I could go without going to investigate it myself.
And trigger warning too. This
Yeah.
does involve not young children, but young teenagers, and so
It is. It's a disturbing one, and they do get very descriptive in it. So on December 6, 1991, 4 young girls were closing up at a local yogurt shop called I Can't Believe It's Yogurt in North Austin, Texas. Jennifer Harbinson, 17 years old, along with Eliza Thompson, who was also 17, worked at the yogurt shop. Jennifer's sister, Sarah Harbinson, 15 years old, and her friend Amy Ayers, 13 years old, were there waiting for them to get off of work. After they closed the shop, intruders came into the store, tied them up, gagged them with their own clothes, and shot them each in the head, and a fire was set to try to get rid of any evidence left behind. A call was first made to the fire department about the fire at the yogurt shop, but when firefighters went into the shop, they made a horrific discovery. They found the bodies of the 4 young girls, and there was evidence that one of the girls was
essayed.
Thank you. I can't even say it, like it's so hard. At the same time, a TV camera crew was doing a ride-along with a homicide detective, John Jones, when a call came in at 11:27 p.m. He was the first detective on the scene. Initially, only 3 bodies were found stacked on each other. One girl was reportedly charred to the bone. The detective described it as a whole cell of carnage and could not even tell the sex or the race of the girls. Sarah was found nude, gagged, and hands bound with a pair of panties. Jennifer was found nude, unbound, but hands were behind her back. Eliza was found nude, gagged, and hands bound by her bra behind her back. The 4th body, Amy, was found separate from the group of girls. Her body was not severely charred like the other girls, but she did have 2nd and 3rd degree burns on 25 to 30% of her body. She was found nude with a sock-like cloth around her neck and was shot in the head like the others, but it had missed her brain. It appears she tried to crawl away, so the gunman tracked her down near the restroom and shot her again, in which the bullet traveled through her brain and out her cheek and jawline. The girls were shot with 2 different guns, a .22 and .380 pistol. After interviewing some of the customers that were last known to visit the yogurt shop, a timeline of events started to unravel. About 1 hour prior to closing, a man walked into the yogurt shop and stood in line. He kept letting customers go in front of him. Darlie Croft, a former police officer who ran a security company, walks in and stands behind the guy. The man then offers to have Croft go in front of him, but Croft declines his offer. And at this time, this guy was standing in line, and he was kind of waiting and watching, and he kept letting people go.
Yeah.
And it was as the yogurt shop was getting close to closing, kind of. It was almost like he was sitting around waiting for everybody to kind of go.
To get out.
Yeah, to get out. He feels that the guy is acting a little suspicious. The man is wearing a military jacket. He is lean, has dark hair, clean shaven, and has a long, pointy nose. The man goes up to the counter and only orders a can of soda and then disappears to the back. Croft places his order and asks Eliza, who is the shift lead, where the man went. So Croft went up to Eliza. Eliza's at the register taking the orders. And he's like, where did this guy disappear to? And so she had told him that the guy asked to use the restroom, and their restrooms were in the back of the shop. And no one's in the back of the shop, mind you. In most of these stores, they have like an exit out the back.
Yes. Right.
So you could easily, and this is what they think happened, easily, one of the theories is that this man cracked it open or left it open somehow.
Propped it open somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Croft didn't feel comfortable leaving and waited around for the guy to come back out from the bathroom. So Croft, after he ordered his ice creams, he was like kind of waiting around for this guy to come out. And he's like, okay, this guy's taking a while and I have these ice creams. And it wasn't just for him that he was ordering. So they were starting to melt. So then he did decide to leave. Detectives believe that this guy may have jammed open the rear door to gain re-entry. The door was found unlocked by investigators. So when they came back to this fire, they did see that the door was unlocked.
And I think that when you have young kids like this running the shop by themselves, that's probably something that they're really on top of, is making sure that that's closed and locked. So I feel like that wouldn't have been something that they would have accidentally done.
No.
Left that open or propped it open or anything like that, because you get teenagers in there, which is not safe. Like, that's just not a safe thing to do. Like, to have,
I think about that. Like, we hear about some of these murders that have happened at restaurants or these fast food places. You have that the burger murders and stuff where these kids are actually closing up the shops
by themselves late at night,
yeah.
10, 11 o'clock at night.
I mean,
and they're opening and closing by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not safe.
And I know you have to lock the door up before while you're closing and stuff, but it's just that quick second when you're trying to walk out to your car, things like that. So it's a little scary sometimes. So, and I don't know how safe this area in Austin was. Also, right before closing, a married couple reported that 2 men were seated at the yogurt shop talking in the corner. Jennifer walked over to the doors to lock them so no one else could enter the shop. They started to clean up the shop and refill napkin holders. They started flipping the chairs over onto the tables so they can sweep and mop under the tables. And the woman said that the men were acting strange and gave off a creepy vibe. The married couple left minutes before 11 p.m. At 11:03 p.m., someone pushed the no-cell key on the register, which investigators believe is the start of the robbery. Only $540 was missing from the register. Investigators noted that all the tables and chairs were ransacked and turned over except for the table and chairs the 2 men were seated at. They speculate that they may have been the 2 men who killed the 4 girls. A $35,000 reward was offered after the murders, hoping to lead to an arrest. And when I was going down reading like a lot of the Reddit threads, a lot of the people that night came forward right away. Yes. They came forward. They said this is what happened. They were accounting for every transaction that happened. So everybody was accounted for and interviewed, except for the 2 men that were seated at the counter. At the 2 tables. Those are the only 2 people that didn't come forward. Honestly, I don't know about the man who used the restroom and walked out and left afterwards. I don't know, but they were talking about, the people that were in the yogurt shop right before it closed. Right. So not too sure about the other man, but I know that everybody else was accounted for that evening. So within the first 3 weeks of the investigation, over 1,000 calls were made to the police department, but they still had no suspects. 8 days after the murders, a 16-year-old named Maurice Pierce was arrested at a nearby mall for carrying a .22 caliber pistol. However, they could not establish that this was the weapon used in the murders. When the detective was taking his statement, Maurice confessed to being the getaway driver while implicating his 3 friends, Michael Scott, Robert Springsteen, and Forrest Welburn. So this kid gets caught with a gun in a mall. And they take him in for questioning, and he actually says, yes, I was the getaway driver, and my 3 friends were there, and we were all part of this murder. Maurice agreed to be hooked up to a wire and met up with Forrest. However, during his conversation, Forrest appeared to have no idea what Maurice was talking about. So he had made a deal with these detectives that, hey, wire me up. I'll try to get Forrest to confess. But when he went to go talk to Forrest was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I have no clue what's going on here. However, Forrest does admit that shortly after the murders, the 4 boys stole a SUV and drove it to San Antonio. So he didn't confess to the murders, but during this time frame, he admitted that that night, we stole an SUV and we drove it to San Antonio, but never admits to murders, has no clue what he's talking about with this yogurt shop. But he does talk about this other crime that they committed. With this admission, they put the 4 boys on their radar, but without any evidence, they were released. Other tips that came up were sometimes strange and bizarre. One tip referred to a vampire group who danced around tombstones in cemeteries. And I'm going to tell you, during this time, there was a lot, and I know that we've covered cases before where they talk about like Satanism and satanic. Did I say it right? Satanism or satanic
like
rituals? Like
yeah,
like
the satanic panic area.
Yeah, the satanic
era.
panic. Yeah, and
it was right around. That was
it was like in the late 80s, like
the
80s,
West
90s.
Memphis 3.
The West, yes.
It's kind of very...
Because this one happened in 1991. So, yeah, it was around this time, like late 80s, early 90s, that this was kind of going around. And just as a little side note, when I was a junior in high school, I went and I got sent to Jones, Oklahoma for my junior year for a few months because I was getting in trouble over here in Southern California. So my mom thought it was best to send me over there. And I'm going to tell you that I had people over there coming up to me, like in this small little town where like only 8 people graduate from this high school. I don't even know. Maybe I'm exact, maybe 12. And I'm telling you, it was a really super small town. It was like a 1 stoplight town. I didn't even think it had a stop. I think it just had a stop sign, or it might have had a flashing red light. It is very, very small town. And one time I had this girl walk up to me because I'm different and I'm new and I'm from California. And she actually looks at me and she goes, "If my sheep go missing or turn up dead, I'm coming after you." Girl, what do you think I'm going to do with your sheep?
Oh,
like, yeah, and
sacrifice them.
Sacrifice. I'm telling you, like, because you're different and over here.
Yeah.
So this
Because you're from California.
Because I'm from California,
Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, no other people thought I was connected to the Bloods in the Crypt drama that was happening, and I was the whole reason why they were being sent to prison in Oklahoma. It's such a small. I mean, I don't want to say, but it's such a small-minded way of thinking.
Yeah.
And I guess it's their way of bullying you, you know.
Of course.
And I'm new, and I'm being bullied. So,
That's
but
just
yeah,
what
but
they
it was just.
associate you
But I
with.
look back at it and I think, oh my gosh! And when this comes up, I'm like, that was around that time. And it's funny because over here, I don't remember that really being a thing. I don't remember that.
It's just like
satanic panic, but I think it was in the Midwestern states.
Oh yeah, if you wore black, like if I were to have lived back then at that time, and wore all black, oh yeah, that would have been it.
That would have been done.
Oh yeah, done deal.
Wore tattoos too.
Anything.
Like, it would have just been.
Yeah, that was like a big thing that was going on around that time.
Yeah, and I think it was mostly in those Bible Belt states.
Exactly.
Because I don't remember coming from California and having that be an issue, but I do remember. I remember that one girl, and I even remember what she looks like. But gosh, if anybody knows her name, please put it down in the comments. I don't remember her name, and I just want to be like, "Girl, I didn't grow up like that. Like, look at me. I'm a Christian.
I have a career.
I have a career. I take care of kids. Come on, girl. We can be friends now. I'm not eating sheep
or sacrificing
anything. Come on." So I would really like to have a conversation. A composite drawing was created of a man who was reportedly sitting out in a car on the night of the murder. So also, not only are the people inside, they also had a guy who they said was acting strange sitting outside in a car. So they did a composite sketch of him. When officers released the sketch, the sex crimes unit in Austin said that the man looked similar to a man they were pursuing for the essay and kidnapping of another girl along with 2 other men. The man was Porfirio Villa Saavedra, known as the Terminator, and the leader of the Mierdas punk motorcycle gang. I'm screwing up Spanish so bad. A tip came in that the men had fled to Mexico. 2 of the men were arrested in Mexico, and detectives from Austin flew down to question them. The Mexican government announced that the men had confessed to the murders and that they were going to try them in Mexico. But Detective John Jones learned that they had made confessions that did not match the crime scene. Even the caliber of guns they claimed they used in the crime were wrong. The men then recanted, and one of the suspects said that they were tortured until they confessed. I think for this case, they had a lot of false confessions because there was a lot of media attention on this case.
I don't know why people do that.
I don't either. I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Please,
what type of people, or if
me.
they want like thinking they're going to get taken care of in jail. Maybe, you know, they're
don't
trying
know.
to go back to jail. I don't know either. So
Yeah.
it's
It always confuses me
I
when
can
when that happens.
I can see like, oh, they were coerced into confessing, or they were like,
yes.
But if you're just walking and saying I did it,
right.
like I don't understand it either.
That sounds like when you're talking about being coerced and all that, making a murder.
Yeah.
Like that was it's been out forever on Netflix, but same thing, same situation where they just beat him down and beat him down and beat him down until they're finally like, okay, I did it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And we're never involved. So on January 3rd, 1992, a task force called ICBY was formed to identify, arrest, and prosecute those responsible for the murders. And that stands for, I can't believe it's yogurt. I can't believe it's yogurt. Yeah. I want to say it's not yogurt. Yeah. can't believe it's not
yogurt.
butter.
I know.
That's what's coming to my mind. The task force consisted of Austin Police Department, Austin Fire Department, Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Texas Department of Public Safety, Travis County Sheriff's Office, and Travis County District Attorney's Office. They outlined the probable personality characteristics of the offender and the dominant personality. Although the race of the offenders are difficult to determine, it is probable that the killers are white, late teens to mid-20s, but if older, they will be socially and emotionally immature. He is most likely a high school dropout and an underachiever with poor grades. He was probably a major discipline problem at school and likewise a poor and unreliable employee, if employed at all. That always fascinates me when they do that. When they do that whole, like, I think they were this and they were that and they look like this and the
how
stuff
spot on they are, though.
And the stuff that goes into doing that has always just fascinated me. I
always wonder, like, what brings them to that conclusion and how are they so spot on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like sometimes they're even spot on down to the job they could be holding.
Right. Right. I mean,
like,
I guess that's why they do it for a living, is because they're good at it. But
yeah.
It just has always fascinated me so much. Oh, Mochi's going to join us. Want to help me read, Moch? Okay. The killer has no remorse or concern that he killed the 4 girls. However, at this time, he is under a lot of stress and fear that he will be discovered and arrested for his crime. The accomplices may regret their actions, and this may put fear in the dominant offender because he starts to question their loyalty. They may have remained close for a short period and sticking close together to make sure no one talks. However, they will probably have a falling out due to the stress and increased paranoia. As the pressure of them mounts and the continued investigation, they may become extremely anxious and watchful of each other, causing further stress on the relationship. This stress may lead to violence. The offenders may have left the crime scene to one location to clean up and then returned to watch the police and fire activity. That's very, very common that happens, that the people will return to the scene of the crime, that they say like a lot of people attend the person who has been killed or murdered's funeral. Like the person responsible for the act is always very, very, very close. Yeah. Like very, very close. To avoid being suspicious, they may have returned to work the next day or left town with a legitimate reason. The killer has an explosive personality and angers easily, becoming angrier that the situation calls for. This is especially true when he consumes alcohol and or drugs. He is impulsive and does not worry about the consequences, and any physical altercations, he makes sure he has the advantage and will most likely win. He resents any form of authority and will have his friends present before confronting any adult males. He frequents the area and appears thuggy. Oh, I've never heard that word.
He's very thuggy.
Thuggy. Okay. I've heard thuggish. I haven't heard thuggy. That's a new one. I kind of like that. Might be my next tattoo.
Midwestern term.
kind of thuggy. And has little pride in his appearance. He has a past criminal history and dates women who are younger than him, which he most likely is abusive towards. In 1999, a fresh set of detectives were assigned to the case. When reviewing the documents, they felt that the case of Maurice Pierce, Michael Scott, Robert Springsteen, and Forrest Welborn was strong. They felt these 4 boys were overlooked too quickly. After re-examining the evidence, they felt that they had enough to make an arrest. They brought the 4 men in for questioning, and Michael and Robert both confessed to the killings. Michael was sentenced to death, while Robert was sentenced to life behind bars. The men later said their confessions were also coerced, despite the fact that the details of the separate confessions matched perfectly. According to Paul Tyler on Reddit, this is just something that was found on Reddit that was in the last month, you said, right?
Yeah, I think they wrote it like 25 days ago. Somebody, Reddit, they got a lot of, you got a lot of your independent detectives out
Armchair
there.
detectives.
Yes, thank you. And I
Yeah.
love them because they always have really great opinions, and some of them are freaking smart as hell.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I had one like breaking down the DNA that I couldn't even get into because for us to even try to explain what they're talking about with DNA evidence
You'd
and
have to take a
the chromosomes and the Y's and all that, I was like, oh no, I don't want to
take a
lose
course.
you. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, this guy, Paul Tyler, he actually makes a very good observation about these guys' confessions, and he kind of breaks it down in more detail.
Okay, so Paul says Scott's statements contained many accurate details. He knew that the front door of the yogurt shop was locked and that the key had been left inside the door. He also knew that the killers had entered the shop through the back door, which had been left open. Scott recalled hearing one of the girls tell Pierce that the money had been dropped, that is, placed in the drop safe as described by the manager. He also described hearing someone slap one of the girls. This was consistent with the autopsy finding of a concussion on Amy Ayers' lower lip. Scott knew that a .22 revolver and a .380 semi-automatic were used in the murders, and he knew that 5 shots were fired. Although Scott said one of the girls had been killed in the office, he also said that she had been by the shop's safe, which was in fact where Ayers' body was found. Scott also told the police that Ayers was still alive after he shot her, a fact consistent with the autopsy findings. Most tellingly, Scott described piling the bodies of the 3 girls together in the middle of the storage area, covering them with flammable material and setting them on fire. This accurate description of the origin of the fire could not have been the result of police suggestion, because at the time Scott was being questioned, it was believed that the killers had started the fire in the shelves along the wall. It was only after Scott gave his statement that another arson expert re-examined the evidence and concluded that the fire had begun on the bodies as Scott described. Recognizing the importance of this evidence, Scott's trial counsel spent hours cross-examining the state's arson expert in an effort to discredit their testimony. The defense did not, however, offer any contradictory expert testimony. However, the convictions did not hold up because the prosecution violated the confrontation clause. The men were not given the chance to confront each other in court. The Texas Court of Appeals ruled that the men should have been given a chance to cross-examine each other. Also, there was another issue with the case. While being interrogated, a detective held a gun up to Michael's head. In addition, DNA evidence from the crime scene did not match any of the 4 men. So the prosecution consequently abandoned plans for a retrial. So Michael and Robert were released in 2009 and charges were dismissed, but Amy's family still believes that they were involved in the case. The girls' families are still seeking answers almost 34 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like we've talked about so many other times, like to go on all these years and just not have answers.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And
I think a lot of the evidence points to the 4 boys, or at least the 2, because, okay, like you said, they confess. But then again, one did, and they do actually have video of the officer, pointing the gun in the head. And this particular detective who did that, he actually was taken to court. I don't know what it's called, but when they bring them up on charges, I guess, taken to court, for doing a lot of shady confessions and
Yeah.
getting a lot of shady, and he was known to get confessions from people illegally. Like, so
That's just, it's so disappointing to know that this is what goes on behind the scenes when stuff,
Yeah.
you know, like you have families that are mourning the loss of loved ones and trying to wrap their head around, you know, what has happened and, you know, whatever. And then you have this going on behind the scenes, and it's like, it's so disappointing
Yeah.
to know that this is what this really happens.
yeah, and I would say, like, follow the evidence. You're eventually going to get there. Don't coerce these people into confessing, because it can be, you know, even if they are guilty, it gets thrown back in your face
Yes.
down the road. And I feel like some of these people are smart enough to manipulate the system to, like, oh yeah, I'm going to have them be
Yeah.
forceful with me, because then my conviction is going to get thrown out later. Like, whatever, you know, I don't know what the theories or the thoughts are, but I just feel like this case should have been solved a long time ago. And I
Absolutely.
think in this day and age, it probably would have been.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
because back then they didn't have
everything
Yeah,
that,
that
we
we have
have now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Technology has really come a long ways. Hopefully with this
Necessarily.
new documentary coming out, supposed to be, I believe, sometime this summer, it will create more media attention around everything, and
shed more light.
hopefully they can get some answers, because
Maybe people will come forward who might know something or heard something, or
yeah, because
you
this
know.
is, you know, this is for families that just have no answers, unfortunately, you know.
it's a really sad story. And one family lost both their daughters.
Yeah.
And that was their only two daughters. That was it.
Exactly.
And so it's really, really sad.
Yeah. So when this documentary comes out, then maybe we'll do like a shoot the shit on it, and maybe compare like the notes that we have versus
What's come out now,
What's
and like
come out
maybe
now, and-
maybe new evidence by the time it does come out. Maybe
Yeah.
something else have
Yeah,
changed.
for sure.
and we'll have more information for you.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you for watching another week and coming back. Thank you for everybody supporting us. And again, if you want a furry felt baby, or whatever we're calling them,
Just sign up.
make sure to join our Patreon at patreon.com/50 States of Madness.
Yes.
And we will see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.